Hey, welcome to ParkNotes. I'm Parker Sedecase. I'm a philosopher and book lover, and this is a channel where I help you study, think, and read more deeply. This video is going to be a little bit different. I want to talk about one of my favorite books. It's not a philosophy book. It's called Fun for Boys. It's from 1943, and it's a book that my grandma gave me when I was a kid. Now, I don't know if my grandma knew what was in here, but I'm going to say that this book can make a boy into Batman. Why is that? Because it gives you life skills like learning jiu-jitsu and tumbling and building a powerful physique and the science of wrestling. All sorts of really fun stuff that men thought boys should learn back in 1943. This is the copy my grandmother gave me. It's totally falling apart here. Maybe I should get it rebound. But I've also found a number of copies on eBay, and I hoard these or collect these, and I give them to my friends for special occasions, birthdays, birth of their son, whatever. Thankfully, I finally found another hardcover. These are a little bit more rare than the softcover green ones. But in this video, I just want to give you an overview of this book and show you some of the really cool illustrations that are in here. Hopefully you can find your own copy on eBay, but it would be even better if they brought this back into print. I don't know how that works. Someone out there make it happen. So I think all the book lovers out there are going to love this just because it's an old book, but there's also super cool illustrations, classical illustrations from the early 1940s. What did they draw like? What did things look like? They weren't pretending to look older. These just were old drawings. Let me just add another caveat that it says fun for boys. I don't want to get into like weird gender roles and how they change or anything. I have a daughter, and if she likes anything in this book, we're going to go over it. I'm going to teach it to her, and we're going to run with that, especially the jiu-jitsu and wrestling stuff. So enough preamble and stuff. Let me just jump in and show you guys this book. Okay, so again, the book is Fun for Boys. It is the complete book of games, hobbies, sports, and recreation, edited by William Allan Brooks, published in 1943. So we're going to see what people thought was fun for boys in the early 1940s. Chapter 1 is the secrets of cartooning. Chapter 2 is how to identify aircraft. Chapter 3 is building model planes. And Chapter 4 is how to train your dog. These are pretty standard. I don't think you're going to become Batman with any of these, but you'll see where I'm going. Chapter 5 is money-making plans. Okay, so we got some Bruce Wayne coming in. Chapter 6, how to be a ventriloquist. Chapter 7, it's fun to build things. Chapter 8, how to handle a rope like a cowboy. Chapter 9, how to play table tennis. And now here's some of the more explicit Batman stuff. Chapter 10, tumbling and acrobatics for beginners. Chapter 11, building a powerful physique. Chapter 12, how to punch a bag. Chapter 13, boxing for self-defense. Chapter 14, the fundamentals of Jiu-jitsu. Chapter 15, the science of wrestling. Chapter 16, popular indoor and outdoor games. Meh. Chapter 17, how to be the life of the party. And Chapter 18, recommended reading. Now I want to read a couple passages from the book, including this introduction here, but I mostly want to show you the retro illustrations. They're super cool, and they definitely give off Batman the Animated Series vibes. But I think what most of you will be most interested in is Chapter 18, the recommended reading. There's some really good recommendations, and you may even consider reading through the whole list yourself. So on to the introduction. The purpose of this volume is to present in one comprehensive book a useful instrument of recreation for the vast army of boys from 8 to 80. The material has been organized into indoor and outdoor activities so that the reader, whether in health or in confinement, would have recourse to fun. That is, recreation in the true sense of the word. The unfortunate shut-in, whether confined by a cold or a prolonged illness, will find the chapters on cartooning, tricks, brain teasers, quizzes, and problems delightfully amusing and relaxing. In many instances, they will tend to encourage the boy's latent abilities. Where the boy's companionship is restricted to a brother or the neighbor's boy, he will get untold pleasure from the chapters on boxing, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, and ventriloquism. Camp counselors will find the entire volume a program of activity that will help to utilize every idle moment, especially on days when outside activities are restricted by inclement weather. Directors of boys clubs, Boy Scouts, YMCAs, 4-H clubs, and settlement houses will find this volume a valuable resource of guidance and information for successful leadership. As a final word, the boy's dad will do well to shed his superimposed dignity once in a while, and with the help of this book, realize how easy and what fun it is to be a boy again. W.A. Brooks. Okay, so let me just thumb through the book so I can show you guys some of the illustrations. They're super cool. Here's Chapter 1, The Secrets of Cartooning. I love these styles of cartoons. I grew up on these, and I would thumb through this book often, so in my head, this is like what a cartoon is supposed to look like. Next up is how to identify aircraft. Gotta be honest, I don't care about this chapter at all. Likewise, building model planes is not my thing, but I know many of you will dig that, and many of you will end up building model planes with your son or your daughter. Now, how to train your dog is another chapter that I skipped over. I wanted the Batman stuff. I wanted jiu-jitsu and wrestling and punching and building a powerful physique. But this is a chapter that I'm sure my wife wishes I would have read because our dogs are not trained super well. But it's not too late. Maybe I can still pull some gems from this and train my own dogs. It's cool to even have a dog list at the end. Non-sporting and utility, smaller dogs, sheepdogs, sporting breeds, greyhound family, bird dogs, terriers, toy dogs, and Arctic and subarctic breeds. Then there's money-making plans. This great epigraph from Robert Louis Stevenson, "I know what pleasure is, for I have worked." This chapter is full of 1940s era advice for young boys on how they can earn some extra money, including how to caddy. And they give this whole 28 rule caddy code for how to be the best caddy. They suggest newspaper and magazine routes, being an errand boy, selling pebbles to pet stores, learning how to put someone's initials on their automobiles. I guess like painting those in there, collecting and selling soil, selling ferns. Like there's just a bunch of wild ideas in here, a lot of which are probably no longer viable. Selling bait to fishermen, garden work. Those are not bad. Watch inspection service, a banjo orchestra, make ornamental flowers from seashells, and of course raising pigeons, notoriously profitable. That's pretty wild. There are some really good ones like shoveling snow or reading to sick people, but it's just really funny to see some of the weird ones in here. Then we have how to be a ventriloquist, another chapter I don't really care about. It's fun to build things with a bunch of detailed instructions on cool things you can build, like this old school sled, which is sweet, but the coolest one in here is towards the back. Oh, here we go. Antique target box. So you see these at carnivals and stuff where they have a bunch of like little soldiers and you shoot them out. This gives you the detailed instructions on how to build your own. How cool is that? That is fun for boys. That's so cool. Again, it doesn't just have to be for boys. I have a daughter and it would be really cool to make this with her or for her and get her a little BB gun and shoot these things out. Then we have how to handle a rope like a cowboy. These lessons come from a champion, apparently. Named Tom Rowan. Just awesome old school illustrations here. This looks like someone trying to be old school. I love that, but it actually comes from the 1940s, so it genuinely is old school. How to play table tennis. Now, I actually did use this when I was growing up to learn how to play table tennis and trying to beat my brothers. They were both super good. My dad actually was ridiculously good at table tennis, ping pong, but I did actually learn new stuff from reading this as a kid, especially these different grips. So that's pretty cool. But here we're going to get into some of the Batman stuff. This is how to train your child to be Batman. Of course, without the psychological trauma of, having their parents murdered in front of them and the association with crime. So maybe don't do that part of it. But here's tumbling and acrobatics for beginners. I ended up doing a lot of these in my youth wrestling program as a kid. This one was the most fun. This one is super weird. I don't know if I'd mess with that one. But me and my buddy Sam would do this all the time in the wrestling room. But here we come to my favorite chapter, building a powerful physique. A sound mind in a sound body. So like I said, my grandma gave me this book when I was a kid and I pulled it back out every couple of years to look at it again, to reread it, really just to look over the illustrations. But this chapter always caught my attention because I was the youngest of four. I had two older brothers. They would whomp on me. Even my older sister would whomp on me here and there. And so I wanted to build a powerful physique. I think at the time in 6th grade, we were also reading The Odyssey. And one of the goddesses wanted Odysseus to have favor with this woman. So she made him look more heavily muscled. And so reading that and then reading about having a powerful physique, it just ignited my imagination and made me want to lift weights. So I started lifting weights in 6th grade because of this chapter and The Odyssey. A lot of just pretty basic calisthenics type stuff that I was already doing in wrestling. But it's got some good basic tenets about sleep and diet. It also has a warning against tobacco use. So it's got this stat about the heartbeat of non-smokers versus smokers. And it comes with this warning, hey, don't smoke. It concludes by saying, it must be said that a boy cannot keep clean physically and develop his maximal vigor unless he can keep mentally clean. There is such a close relation between the mind and the body that his thoughts affect his body. That's pretty cool and ahead of its time. Next up, we have how to punch a bag. Another really cool chapter that taught me a lot. I learned how to throw a punch because of this, and maybe I throw it like an old-timey 1940s boxer, but that's because that's where I learned from. This chapter goes hand in hand with the next one, which is boxing for self-defense. I love this illustration. Look at these kids. This one looks like he backhanded him maybe, or he's about to just punch his kid in the face. He's all sad. And the dad or the adult in the room is just having a great old time. I love that. Look at these awesome drawings. I would just look at this and then shadow box for like half an hour in my room by myself. I really love these drawings. It goes over basics like how to make a fist, gives you good principles for stance and how to throw a punch and when to throw a punch, and helps you learn the basic types of punches like the jab, the right cross, the uppercut. So that's pretty cool. Here we have the fundamentals of Jiu-jitsu. Now, to modern ears, you're going to think Brazilian Jiu-jitsu, but this is Japanese Jiu-jitsu.
What is that?
Jiu-jitsu.
Gesundheit. That was a joke.
Jiu-jitsu is no joke. It takes years to master. Hey!
Japanese Jiu-jitsu is first. I mean, the word is Japanese, and then it went to Brazil and changed, and it went to England, changed into catch wrestling, and it went to Russia and turned into Sambo. Somehow it also became Judo. So Japanese Jiu-jitsu is like the OG, it's the original. And the lessons in this chapter are said to be taught to Marines, soldiers, and G-men, which is awesome. You can't look at these illustrations and not get a Batman the Animated Series vibe from them. I'll just say really quick, one of the books in the thumbnail is Batman Animated, another one of my favorite books. Let me just thumb through this for you guys. It's super awesome. Bruce Timm and Paul Dini's fantastic series. I love this. Watching this series as a kid primed me to love the book Fun for Boys and vice versa. I would read the book, I would go watch the show, I would watch the show, I'd go back to the book. And if you know anything about the show, you know Bruce Wayne was a Japanese Jiu-jitsu master. So reading this chapter just continued to ignite my love for Batman and my desire to become him, though I've failed significantly thus far. Look at this nice, proper boy getting attacked by the street tough. He's going to use just a little bit of elementary jiu-jitsu, a simple thumb grip, and he's going to take control of the situation. You gotta love it. I tried some of these on my friends. We tried to learn these. We weren't super effective. I think you need a teacher for this stuff, but it's really cool to see it in this book. The ones we did have success with, we learned in wrestling, like the fireman's carry. Here's one of the best named techniques. It's not the people's elbow, it's the judicious elbow. That's gold. Look at this dude getting an elbow to the face. Crazy. This chapter helps the young boy disarm a thug, freaking Batman style. You gotta love it. Listen to this. Each man is his own policeman. You feel a gentle tug at your coat pocket. You are startled. You have the envelope with your money there. Someone is trying to obtain Christmas cheer with your money. You pretend to be unaware of that light-fingered gent's hand as it blissfully withdraws the envelope from your pocket. You have studied jiu-jitsu. Suddenly, you seize that withdrawing hand with both of yours. Your fingers bore into the pickpocket's palm. You hold it imprisoned as in a vice. You wheel it around rapidly with a captive hand still clutched in your fingers. Speed is your only salvation. He's a big, burly fellow. You twist his hand upward and back. By then, he has dropped your envelope. You keep pressing his hand back, raising his arm on your thigh, I think. Not high. You now have him where you may even release one of your hands, and with it, press the small of his back, so he will be forced to his knees. You can hold him thus until one of the regular guardians of the law arrive. The police will take care of his future, but until then, you have demonstrated that each man may be his own policeman. Boom. And just like that, a whole generation of young boys become Batman. Now, maybe I lied about the physique one. This is probably my favorite chapter because I grew up wrestling since first grade, and this is the most practical chapter for me. Just listen to what they say about wrestling. Wrestling is healthy. No other sport so brings into play the vital organs of the body. The constant stretching and twisting of the body tends to strengthen the muscles needed for perfect bodily development. More wrestling is not dangerous. So there you have it. Now I wrestled all the way through Division 1, and I gotta say these tips still hold up. I mean, it's an ancient sport, goes all the way back to the original Olympics. So while a bunch has changed, the fundamentals are the fundamentals. This move, the chancery and swing over, we called it the pancake growing up. You can pin someone super fast in this move, and I hit this the other day. Some of these are a little far-fetched, so the drawings look kind of weird, but wrestling is wrestling. This is one of the nastiest things you can do. A knee grip counter to waist hold. Someone's holding you from behind and you reach between your own legs and like hyperextend their knee. That thing is nasty. Here's the cradle. I never hit it like this standing. That's odd, but this is my signature move. He needs to get these hands locked here, maybe in like a gable grip. But other than that, with the cradle, it's gold. Here's like maybe a head and arm throw, or looks like almost a headlock, and a pretty nice counter and a counter to the counter, because this dude's got a nice grapevine here, so he doesn't get launched over for 5. Just good old-fashioned wrestling. So we also have some popular indoor games, brain teasers. These are pretty boring. how to be the life of the party. These are just using magic tricks. You could use these to impress people, or you could use them to gain the element of surprise and disappear on somebody mid-conversation, Batman style, or misdirect your enemy so you can get the upper hand and take them to jail. And lastly, to the last chapter, the recommended reading. So let me read their little introduction here. What shall the boy read? Here indeed is a vital question, yet one to which no ready answer has been found, except that it is generally agreed that reading does influence character for good or for evil. For the building of character, the best reading is autobiography, for seldom does one come across an autobiography wherein the author does not trace his inspiration to attainment and distinction directly to the reading of certain books. For this purpose, the Children's Book Committee of the Child Association of America prepared a list of recommended books. Some of them are listed in this chapter. From my own experience, I have found that the best reading is that which is done jointly by father and son. In addition to making for a closer bond between them, it opens the way for an exchange of views on the standards of good and bad literature, which will last the boy throughout life. For the boy, the companionship of reading with his father will take on added significance and beauty. The father in turn will be able to relive his boyhood days and recapture the time when meadow, grove, and stream, the earth, and every common sight to me did seem apparelled in celestial light. So here's the book list. I don't want to read all these. You can pause the video and look at them yourself and check eBay to find some good ones if you can't find them on Amazon or your local bookstore. But let me just make sure that you guys can see these. I haven't read so many of these books, and I think I'm going to add them to my TBR, my to be read pile, which is already way too big, so thanks a lot. Fun for boys. But the ones I have read from this list are fantastic, amazing, classics, awesome. My favorite from the list, I'll say, is The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexander Dumas. My dad read that to me as a kid a couple times. We then saw that movie that came out, and I read it once or twice more during my childhood. Just a fantastic book. All right, that's it. That's Fun for Boys. I hope you guys liked that video, and I hope you guys can find your own copy on eBay or some other bookseller. If you like this video and want to see other videos where I talk about my favorite books and show them to you guys, let me know in the comments, because I will do that. And if you made it this far in the video, then you're awesome. Leave me a book emoji in the comments. Make sure to leave me a like. And if you haven't already, then make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on any tips and tricks on studying, reading, and thinking more deeply. I'll catch you guys next time.